Have you heard that a 21-year-old outlaw's death sparked one of America's greatest legends, but the truth might shock you? Stay tuned. So what if I told you that Billy the Kid, America's most famous outlaw, might have faked his own death? On July 14, 1881, Sheriff Pat Garrett claimed that he shot and killed the notorious Billy the Kid in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. The 21-year-old had allegedly killed 8 men and terrorized the Southwest. But here's where it gets kind of wild. The room was pitch black. Garrett couldn't see who he was shooting, and the body was buried immediately without proper identification. Multiple witnesses later claimed that Billy the Kid survived and lived under a different name for decades. Some historians believe that Garrett and Billy staged the whole thing because they were actually friends and Billy wanted out of his life of crime. So that legendary gunfight that made Billy the Kid a Wild West icon, it might have been the greatest hoax in American history. Okay, picture this. A medieval fortress falls to angry French citizens, but they only found 7 prisoners inside, and most of them didn't even want to leave. July 14th, 1789, Bastille Day. Hundreds of Parisians stormed the infamous Bastille prison expecting to free hundreds of political prisoners suffering under the king's tyranny. When they broke down the doors, they found exactly 7 prisoners, 4 forgers, 2 lunatics, and 1 aristocrat who had been imprisoned at his family's request. The lunatics were actually quite comfortable, and they didn't want to leave their cozy cells. So France's greatest symbol of revolution was basically an expensive old folks' home with questionable residents. What do Thomas Jefferson, a missing cookbook, and your favorite comfort food have in common? July 14th is National Mac and Cheese Day, but this cheesy celebration has presidential origins. Thomas Jefferson became obsessed with a pasta dish that he tried in Paris, so he brought back a pasta machine back to America in 1789. Jefferson's enslaved chef, James Hemings, was actually the mastermind behind adapting the recipe. Hemings was trained in French cuisine, and he created what we now know as mac and cheese by combining Jefferson's pasta obsession with American cheese-making techniques. So every time you dig into that creamy, cheesy goodness, you're eating a dish that helped make America, well, America. Imagine taking a photo that changes how humanity sees an entire planet forever. July 14th, 2015, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft did something incredible. It took the first close-up photos of Pluto after traveling 3 billion miles over 9 years. Those images revealed Pluto has a giant heart-shaped feature on its surface. Scientists nicknamed it Tombaugh Regio after Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto in 1930. The heart is actually 2 different colored regions that just happen to look like the perfect Valentine. Who knew the most distant planet in our solar system was literally wearing its heart on its sleeve or surface? What if the man who became president never wanted to be president, never wanted to be vice president, and only ran for one office his entire political career? July 14th, 1913, Gerald Ford was born in Nebraska. He's the only person in U.S. history to serve as both president and vice president without being elected to either position. Ford only ever ran for one office, the House of Representatives, which he won 13 times. He became vice president when Spiro Agnew resigned, and then he became president when Nixon resigned. Talk about being in the right place at the right time, twice. Gerald Ford, America's ultimate accidental politician who stumbled his way to the top job. And that's all for this week's edition of Have You Heard? Please leave a comment if you learned something mind-blowing today. I'm Troy W. Hudson, the voiceover with personality. Until next time, stay curious.